Good morning. The Bible is filled with characters, people who lived natural, normal lives. Most times we think those things are figments of people's imaginations. No, they were real people who lived real lives. Welcome to this episode of Biblical Marriages Unfiltered. Last week we talked about Rebecca and Isaac, and I hope you learned a lot knowing that Isaac was a mommy's boy and Rebecca liked money. So today we'll be talking about Jacob and Leah. Now, Jacob had two wives. Jacob had Leah and Rachel as his two wives, and then concubines, two concubines. But we'll start with Jacob and Leah, and by next week, we'll conclude with Jacob and Rachel. First, parental intrusion and parental deception when it comes to marriages of their children did not start in Africa. It started in Israel long before Africa even knew what it was, right? There was a lot of parental disruptions, a lot of parental deceptions, a lot of parental intrusions in the marriages of people in those days. So we are talking about Laban, right? Rachel's father, Leah's father. This guy comes to you and says, I love your daughter, Rachel. She's beautiful. She's the younger daughter, and I want to marry her. He says, fine. He said, I'll work for you for 7 years. He said, beautiful. And then Jacob starts working, hard worker, you know. He works for 7 years, and then it's time. The man did not say anything about the fact that the first daughter has to marry before the younger daughter, which is not a tradition anyway. It was just his foolish desire, because fathers and their first daughters now, their relationship, right? So Laban wanted his first daughter to get married, and owing to the fact that she had cross eyes, she had Anya 430. So he wanted her to get married quickly before Rachel, who was a more beautiful one, right? And he now said it was tradition. It was not any tradition, it was his foolish idea. So this thing, first daughter must marry first, which some people even do in their families, even up till now, is not a tradition anywhere. God did not say so, and God was the originator of marriage. God never said so. God never said that the first daughter must marry before all the other daughters in the family. It is not written in stone anywhere. So this was a parental intrusion. Let's start with that. There was parental intrusion, there was parental deception. Let's look at Leah. Leah was Rachel's elder sister. This guy comes to their family, and everybody knows. He was clear to everybody that Jacob was in love with Rachel. It was very clear to everybody. Leah knows as her elder sister. Of course, Rachel will be telling her stories now, how he said he loves me, how he bought me this, how he did this for me. So she was aware that these two people were in love. Yet, she was desperate to get married, that she agreed to her father's plans to supplant her sister on her wedding night. Hey, supplant her sister on her wedding night. Remember, the wedding was done. Jacob and Rachel actually got married. They did the ceremony. There was a ceremony of marriage. It was in the night that Leah was put in. She was supplanted. So she did not even partake in the wedding itself. That was how desperate Leah was to get married. She did not even do wedding. She came in the night, like a thief in the night. Leah was manipulative. She knew how much Jacob loved her younger sister. She knew how much her younger sister loved Jacob. Yet she allowed herself to be used by her father as a pawn in his game, because she too had no confidence, no self-worth that she was going to find a man who would love her for her and marry her. She had no self-worth. She had no confidence in herself. She had no value in herself. So she was manipulative. Meanwhile, the heart wants the heart wants. Right? Jacob wanted Rachel, and no matter what happened, he still wanted Rachel, right? So Leah allowed herself to be used as a pawn in her father's games, right? She was jealous of her sister. If she was not jealous of her sister, she wouldn't have supplanted her sister. She was jealous of her sister. She had a competitive spirit. Why would you marry before me? I have to marry before you. This handsome guy that came to our family and he's from our father's place. Very, very available and very, very desirable bachelor, right? So she had a competitive spirit. We also see that when they started having children. When she started having children and her sister had no children, she was very competitive. She was doing a lot of things to her sister. She was insecure. Leah was insecure throughout that marriage, because she knew She knew Jacob did not love her. There was no love. So she was insecure. Every little thing she was trying to get herself a position, a stand. She was trying to stand in her husband's home. She was trying to get herself a position in her husband's home. Leah had no discernment. Leah had absolutely no discernment. She had no relationship with God. She had no questions to ask God. That was why she was naming her children according to her mood, according to the circumstances of their birth. That was how she kept naming her children. Imagine you being named according to the circumstances that were happening before you were born. Is it your fault? Well, it was not those children's fault, yet they had names that reflected bad circumstances and moods, right? Leah was treacherous and mean-spirited with her barren sister. She was mocking her sister. No woman who begs for love ever really gets it. No woman that begs for love, let me say it again. No woman who begs for love ever really gets it. If a man doesn't love you first, forget it. If you beg for love, you keep begging for that love till the end of your life. You will not stop begging for love. That is why you should not beg for love. It is the man's responsibility, according to God, to love you. Leah was bitter against her sister, even with all the sons she had. She was vengeful. She was very vengeful. Let's talk about when her son Reuben found mandrakes. Mandrakes was this their roots and leaves that women that want to conceive take. And Rachel, her sister, asked her, knowing that Rachel was barren, she already had sons. She still refused to give her sister, except her sister give her a slot to sleep with Jacob. Right? She was so vengeful. She was so mean to her sister. When a man doesn't love you, leave him alone. You cannot rope him with children. See, from beginning, he has been like that. It will continue to be like that. You cannot rope a man with children as a woman. Leah tried to rope Jacob with sons. She was giving birth to sons. It did not matter to Jacob. He was still in love with Rachel, right? She also had a warped imagination of God. Leah had a warped imagination of God. Imagine she named one of her sons Issachar. Issachar, which means wages, saying that God repaid her for giving her slave girl to her husband. Like how? You carried your slave girl and gave your husband. It's adultery according to God. And you're telling God that God repaid you for doing that. That's her warped imagination of God. She never really knew God. Leah did not train her kids well. She never, when she was busy fighting with her sister over their husband, how would she train her kids? Reuben, number one, slept with the father's concubine. His mother did not teach him well. Levi and Simeon fought because their sister was raped. They wiped out, they deceived and killed an entire city. An entire city, all the men, they killed all of them by the sword because their sister was raped. Sons of anger. That's what the Bible calls them, sons of anger. So she didn't raise her kids well, right? Jacob never loved Leah. Jacob never loved Leah. He made it clear from the day one that it was Rachel he wanted. So he never even tried to love the woman he was sleeping with, having sons with. He never tried to love her. He neglected her except for sex. His business with Leah was sex. Have sex with her, she has children for him. Jacob was a liar and a cheat. I mean, we know Jacob now. He was a liar and a cheat because, excuse me, you got married to the love of your life. You should know how she smells. You should know how she feels because you've been seeing her for 7 years before the marriage, right? And on the night of your wedding, another woman was brought in. There is no way you will tell me that Leah's face was covered throughout their lovemaking. It's not possible. So you even saw that it was not Rachel. You didn't stop and start asking what is the matter immediately. You chopped and cleaned mouth and yet formed anger. Jacob was a cheat and he was a liar. Okay, tell me, was there any other place that kind of mistake was made again? No other place in the Bible or elsewhere that kind of mistake was not made again, where they carried the elder sister and put in place of younger sister in the night of the wedding, after wedding has happened during the day. It had never happened again. Jacob had no moral compass. He was sleeping with anybody and anything. He slept with Leah. Leah brought her maid. Or I sleep with my maid. He slept. Rachel brought her own maid. Or I sleep with my maid. He slept. And he's supposed to be carrying the promise. No consecration whatsoever. Even though he was a child of promise, he had no consecration. He had no moral compass. He had no control. Jacob was a pawn in his wife's games. There was no spine. When the wives were playing games with their maids with him, he had no spine to say no to it. He had no spine to stand as a man of the house and say, this is not happening. I'm married to two of you and two of you alone, and we are sticking to it. No, they gave him, he chopped. Gave him this side, he chopped. No moral compass. Jacob used God when it was convenient. He never sought God about his family matters. Abraham always sought God. Even Isaac sought God, but Jacob, he only seeks God during his business. For his business, so that his business will prosper. When it comes to family matters, anyhow, anything will won't happen, let it happen. That was the kind of man Jacob was. There are dangers when you marry women who do not know your God. Obviously, Rachel and Leah knew their father's gods. They did not know Jacob's God. He did not introduce his God to them. He did not teach them the ways of his God. And that was why they were giving his sons names that were not in God's will, in God's alignment for those boys. So it is dangerous when you as a man marry a woman who do not know your God. When you're looking for bum and you're looking for big breasts and you go and marry someone who doesn't know your God, your children will suffer for it. Your home will suffer for it. It is dangerous to marry a woman who does not know your God as a man. So it is dangerous to marry a woman who doesn't know your God, because when you are failing, when you are falling off of God's will or alignment for your life, there is no one to pull you back. You want to marry a Gen Z baddie, and yet you're a man of God. What do you think will happen to your man of Godness? She will dilute it and even crush it completely. So it is dangerous as a man to marry a woman who does not know your God. Now, on a good note, Jacob had great business acumen. He had great business sense. He was a guy that used his head. He was a guy that didn't like to suffer because he was brought up in a rich home. So he made up his mind that he was going to be rich and he was going to work for it. He wasn't lazy. He was not a lazy man. Jacob was not lazy. So don't say because you're a child of the promise, you're born again, a born again brother, so you should be lazy because you have the promise of God. And one day God is going to throw 10 billion from heaven for you. It's not happening. It's not happening. You see that miracle money thing you're expecting? It's not happening. Jacob had great work ethics. Even though he was a child of the promise, he still worked hard. He worked for 14 years for one woman. He worked 14 years, 14, 1, 2, 3, 4, 14, for one woman. Hard worker, man. And he also showed commitment to the woman he loved. What is your commitment to that woman you say you love? Well, how far can you go for her? What can you do for her? What can you give up for her? What can you sacrifice for her? Because he sacrificed 14 years of his life. Some say it's foolishness, but he loved her. And it's that kind of enduring love that God has for us. A love that will look for you. You know, that song when they say he leaves the 99 to chase after the one. Anyway, don't always be the one they are chasing after. But that was the kind of love that Jacob had for Rachel. He would go to any length to get the woman he loves and love her still. So next week, we're going to be talking about Rachel and Jacob, the other part of the pod, the other side of the story. But today, I hope you learned that first, parental deceit and disruption can destroy your marriage, can destroy your future. Do not allow it to happen with you. Second, never beg a man for love. If a man doesn't love you, you can't force it. You cannot rope a man to loving you with children. Hey, he will never love you, no matter how many children you give him. He will keep you, he will take care of you, but his eyes will still be on that woman that he loves outside. So, next week, we're going to be talking about the lessons we learned from Jacob and Leah's marriage and Jacob and Rachel's marriage. When we conclude with Jacob and Rachel, we'll now put all the lessons together and we'll enumerate them. So you don't want to miss our class next week. You don't want to miss watching the video. Meanwhile, invite your family and friends to Sacred Unions and Desires, where we talk about marriage the Bible way. There is the Bible way. There is the God way to do marriage. And when you do it God's way, you get God's results. So as we talk about these Bible characters, biblical marriages unfiltered, you'll be seeing yourself and the things that pertain to you and the things you need to learn and the things you need to leave behind so that your marriage can be a truly, truly, truly Bible marriage. My name is Amara Miracle Ndono Fit, and it's my pleasure to be the convener of Sacred Unions and Desires, a channel on YouTube where we talk about marriage and everything marriage. Thank you so much for staying with me. See you next Sunday and have a very pleasant week.